Those of you who know the minister, you know him as a fiery orator, as a revolutionary. You know him as all of these outward things, a great leader. But we need to understand Minister Farrakhan from the inside out. And so I would just like to say a word to introduce him, that surely this brother has sublime morals. You don't see him in the night when he's at prayer. You're not with him when he is fasting, when he is observing obedience to his Creator. He is one of the most generous and merciful and loving human beings, and one of the most dutiful and obedient human beings on the earth to the will of Almighty God, Allah. Surely he is one who has sublime morals. Even though we give charity to help Minister Farrakhan, there is not one Muslim in the nation of Islam that has given more than he has given. There is not one of us who works longer hours for less pay, who takes more abuse, but still gives to the people. And when some of his own friends turn into his enemies for expediency, he slips around behind them and supports them until they get strong enough to stand, and never asks for any credit for this. And so since he is here tonight in America's finest city, the finest what? The finest buildings, the finest freeways. How can we be the finest city when we have no obedience to the will of God? And so I am introducing to San Diego and to the world tonight a brother who is a Muslim, one who is deeply concerned for all of the people here in this building and in this city, and deeply concerned with the impending judgment of God on this city. So it's my honor, it's my privilege to introduce and present to the city of San Diego tonight the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Minister Farrakhan. Let's hear it, San Diego. Beloved brothers and sisters, we have a representative from the 4th District City Councilman, West Pratt, Mr. John Miller, who wishes to make a presentation to Minister Farrakhan.
Hello, my name is John Miller. I'm representing San Diego City Councilman West Pratt. This is a very momentous gathering tonight. For me as a native San Diegan, I'm very happy to be here. I've never experienced anything like this. This is a very emotional time for me. But on behalf of the councilman, we wanted to acknowledge the leadership that Minister Farrakhan has brought to our world, to our community, and to our lives. And I'm very happy to present this token, this symbol of what the city of San Diego, particularly Councilman Pratt, feels about Minister Farrakhan. And secondly, for Minister Edward, a brave, courageous man who is leading our community. He has done a lot of great things for us, and he's going to continue to do great things. I want all of you to know that he is a very, very important person, and this little token is, again, a symbol from Councilman Pratt. Thank you.
Thank you. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that God is one, that His creation is one. As a Muslim, I believe in Moses and the Torah or the Old Testament. I believe in Jesus and the Gospel. And I believe in Muhammad and the Holy Quran. Peace be upon all of these worthy servants of God. But if I lived to be a very old man, I don't think I could thank Allah enough for raising up in our midst a divine leader, teacher, and guide to make the Torah, the Gospel, and the Quran relevant books to the struggle of oppressed people in America and throughout the world for liberation. I am speaking of my teacher, the man that taught me what I know, and the man that gave me the example that I might become the man that I hope to become, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I greet all of you. I greet all of you, my dear brothers and sisters, with the greeting words of peace. We say it in the Arabic language, Assalamu alaikum. To Minister Edward first. Would you step forward, please? I must say to Minister Edward, to the captain, to the secretary, to the sister captain, and to all of the believers of Mosque number 8 in San Diego. This brother and those with him have done a marvelous, marvelous job in getting all of this before us today. Let us give Minister Edward a warm and grateful round of applause. Thank you, my brother. And we wish to thank our regional minister, Minister Abdul Wazir Muhammad, Minister Wazir, and the regional captain, and the brothers and sisters from Los Angeles who came in to aid our brothers and sisters in San Diego, and to our distinguished platform guests, reverend clergy, imams, organizational leaders, to our brothers and sisters, whatever your persuasion may be, to our Chicano y Mexicano brothers and sisters who are present, to our Native American brothers and sisters who are present. I'm very, very honored and grateful to Almighty God for the privilege of being here tonight in San Diego, a great city, a city that is one of the fastest growing cities in the United States. And I believe for the first time, San Diego is in the top 10 cities of America. That is good, and that is maybe not so good, because as San Diego expands, San Diego must be able to give to its citizens a decent life. And in order to do that, every person who is able to work should be able to either find employment or have the opportunity to create employment. For without jobs, no city is safe. There are many new buildings going up in San Diego, as we see them in many, many cities across this nation. But these buildings are not factories to employ the hard-working masses of the people. These buildings will employ those in management and highly technical jobs, which many of our people are not prepared at this point to handle. Factories are moving out of the cities. Factories are moving into the suburbs. Factories are moving out of America into third world nations so that the American corporate giants may work the poor of the world for less wages and yet charge more for the finished product on the market. So an expanding city that does not expand the base to support the people who have hope in the city or in the county or in the state will find a community that will begin to feed on itself. And as a result, crime will increase, as crime has increased in San Diego. There are more homicides, more rape, more assault, a small decline in burglaries. But crime is on the increase, and murder of us, by us, is on the increase. San Diego is not becoming a more tolerant city of its racial diversity. San Diego seems to be becoming a less tolerant city of its racial diversity. The fact that Martin Luther King Jr. Way has now been revoted back to Market Street says something. If white people in San Diego cannot tolerate a street named after a black person who not only did good for black people, but he did more good for America than many, if not most, American presidents. Why do I say that? A nation's greatness is not measured by fine roads, great transportation, great communication, lofty buildings, tremendous infrastructure. This is not the measure of the greatness of a city or the greatness of a nation. The greatness of a nation is measured by its duty to God and its duty to the poor and the weak in that society. Martin Luther King tried to make America a more just society. And any time a man will live and die to make a country more just, that man, more than Reagan, more than Bush, more than Roosevelt, more than Hoover, that man is trying to preserve the nation. Because when a nation's evil begins to outweigh its good, another force begins to work. Because this universe does not tolerate an unjust nation, society, or world. So when our personal evil outweighs our good, or a city's evil outweighs its good, or a nation's evil outweighs its good, or a world's evil outweighs its good, then there is a law in the universe that begins to work to remove that individual, that city, that nation, and that world from existence. We have had on this earth, according to the teachings of the Holy Quran and the Bible, many great civilizations before this one. And there were civilizations that superseded this one in lofty buildings and great technological advancement, but they are not here now. Where are they? What happened to them? They fell because they failed in their duty to the Creator who allows the rise and the fall of nations. So when you have a man like Martin Luther King Jr. and the many others who fought to make America a more just society, and you cannot recognize the value of that man, his blackness seems to overpower his goodness. His blackness seems to overpower his strength as a moral teacher, so that you cannot even tolerate his name on a major thoroughfare, but you will vote to have his name taken down, to return it to a common old market street. Then that says to me that if you can't tolerate Dr. King in San Diego, you can't tolerate Dr. King's people. You can't tolerate progress of the Mexicano or Chicano community. You can't tolerate black progress. That means race relations in San Diego are not getting better. Race relations are getting worse, and they're not getting worse because Farrakhan is a bigot, a racist, or an anti-Semite, or a hater. I didn't teach the people who voted for Market Street over Martin Luther King Jr. way. I didn't teach black people to hate themselves. That was done by a master teacher of hate. I didn't teach black people to slaughter themselves on the streets of America. That was done by one who is a master teacher of hate. And I would not waste my time trying to get a black person to dislike or hate a white person. I think white people are doing that job very good themselves. I'm going to spend my time trying to get black people to fall in love with themselves. And after loving ourselves, I'm going to spend my time breaking down the artificial barriers that keep us divided one from another, so that we can, as a community, become a powerful community. a community that does not have to crawl on our knees to beg government or white people to change toward us, but a community that will change toward itself and then bring about change in the environment and bring about a change in the conditions under which we live. A strong black community, breaking down barriers between the black community and the Chicano or Mexicano community and forming alliances for progress of the poor and the underprivileged and those who, as Jesse Jackson called them, locked out of the real meaning of what America is supposed to mean. That's not the talk of a racist. That's not the thinking of a racist. That's the thinking of someone who is concerned for his people. I want to thank the San Diego Monitor News and the black papers of San Diego. Is it the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint? I thank you for the help that you gave to this event. Without our own press, we don't have anyone to really tell our story. We thank the white newspapers for mentioning our event somewhere near the obituary column. But in any case, we really thank you, because you didn't even have to do that. But to the members of the black press and to the members of the Chicano press, you are valuable to our people, because it is you that will tell the real story of our hurt, if you know it, and if we back our own newspapers. Business and professional people ought to take ads out in the black newspaper, and we ought to each week buy that newspaper. Why? Because the more we support our own, the stronger our own becomes. Then our own newspaper can hire reporters at decent salaries and send investigative reporters out to get at the facts and not be a repeat of what comes across the Associated Press, UPI, or Reuters wire service. We want to make our own institutions strong, but our own institutions have to serve our own people. Now, brothers and sisters, let us get down to the subject at hand. Stop the killing. According to what I understand, there has been an increase in the killing of blacks and Chicanos by the San Diego Police Department. And the incidences of racial dislike by those in authority over black people and Hispanic or Chicano people is increasing at an alarming rate. But the killing of us by us is worse than the killing of us by those who have been traditionally our enemies ever since our fathers set the soles of their feet in the Western Hemisphere. So if we would raise sand over a white policeman killing one of us, we ought to be even more concerned about the rate that we are killing one another. We have got to stop the killing. In America, a person is killed or murdered every 24 minutes. That means that America, with all of her beauty, is becoming very ugly when it comes to the increase of crime and the lack of safety on the streets of America. A person is killed once every 24 minutes. According to some statistics that I have read, a white woman in America is likely to be killed once out of every 606 persons. The white woman is the safest woman or the safest person in America. A white man is likely to be killed one out of every 186. A black woman, her rate is 1 out of 126. But the black man, 1 out of every 21 black men in America is slated to be murdered as his way of getting out of this life. Now that is something we need to consider. From 1 out of 606 to 1 in 21. That means every 26 black men in this audience, one man among them may be murdered. And that is the way they are going to leave this earth. They will not be able to live a normal, natural life, procreate children, become decent fathers. They will be murdered. And 24% of black males are now in prison under court supervision or on parole. Something is definitely wrong in America where the black male is concerned. In Vietnam, the American people lost 55,000 in combat, dead, over a 9-year period. And the Vietnam War has struck the American people in such a way that the American people do not want a repeat of the Vietnam War. Yet, only 55,000 lives were lost, according to their statistics, in a 9-year period. 35% of those losses were black. Yet at the time of that war, we were only 10% of the population. Now, why are 35% of the armed forces black and we are just 10% of the population? Somebody above is making war for poor people to fight for the rich. The Chicanos are in the service, poor white people in the service, but the rich white persons and their children, they live to send the poor to fight their wars. Right now, American soldiers are in the desert of Arabia. For what? What are you there for? You said to preserve and to protect our vital interest. President Bush said our very way of life is at stake. Barbara Jordan, the former congressperson from Texas, said, we want to know, what is your way of life? We got to be sure about this way of life. If your very way of life is being threatened, then what is your American way of life? Is your American way of life the mistreatment of black, Chicano, Native American, poor people? What is the American way of life that poor people have to die to maintain? Certainly freedom is not threatened. This is not the first time one country has walked in and walked over another one. Why are you so alarmed now? The Russians walked into Afghanistan. President Jimmy Carter stopped the brothers and sisters and the athletes from participating in the Olympics. There was a protest in the United Nations. No sanctions. Couldn't get the Security Council to agree because one of the 5 permanent members just vetoed it. And as long as one member vetoes it, nothing happens. So, nothing did happen. Mr. Saddam Hussein attacked Iran. There was no outcry because the American government didn't like the Iranians anyway. Poison gas was used against the Iraqi Kurds and against the Iranians. That was well documented. We didn't hear any outcry in the American government. The Iranians could hardly get heard about the use of poison gas against them. America knew about this, said nothing. Why? Her vital interest was not threatened. We saw the Chinese government roll over young Chinese with tanks. Oh, there was an outcry. But within a short while, America sent Scowcroft out to talk business. We saw the government of the United States attack Grenada, little island in the Caribbean. Beautiful little island in the sun, hardly had an army, had built a long airstrip that frightened Americans. An airstrip on a tiny island frightened Americans. Under the pretext of protecting American students who were there studying. Soldiers went in, poor soldiers, poor blacks, poor Chicanos, poor whites, to fight for what? Certainly the people on the island of Grenada were not threatening America's vital interests. But America said to have a Marxist government in the sea lanes where our ships have to travel, threatening our vital interests. So big bad America jumped on tiny little Grenada. When they got tired of Muammar Gaddafi selling the idea of revolution to third world countries, they blamed him for terrorist activity in the Rome and Vienna airport massacres. They blamed him for the bombing of a discotheque where a black soldier got killed. And Reagan, of all people, who cut back every program for the poor, Reagan, of all people, was so hurt over the fact that a black soldier was killed in a disco. He said, enough is enough. And sent F-111s to bomb his home. It was the most expensive assassination attempt on the head of state of an independent nation in the history of the world. It failed. But Mr. Bush is following in the footsteps of his predecessor. Noriega was a fine man as long as he worked for the CIA. Noriega was a good man as long as he did the bidding of Washington, D.C. They paid him handsomely, so they knew everything that he had in his bank account because they put it there. All of a sudden, he wasn't playing ball anymore. Then he became the drug runner, the dangerous drug runner. They don't want to say how drugs were sold by the CIA to get money to finance the Contras. They don't want to talk about that. But when they got tired of Mr. Noriega embarrassing them, while the Panamanian people were preparing for Christmas, had their stockings on their little chimneys or on their little mantelpieces, waiting for Santa Claus to come down their chimneys. President Bush gets out the stealth bomber that never was tried in combat before and took it down to Panama to bomb the Chorrillo district of Panama City, which is filled with blacks and mestizos, and bomb Colón on the east coast of Panama, which is nearly a totally black city. They said they killed about 300 Panamanians. But from the Panamanian side, it is from 4,000 to 7,000 black men, women, and children, mestizo men, women, and children. But of course, we were protecting vital interests. Brought Noriega back, and I believe they're afraid to bring him to trial for fear of what he might say to embarrass the present President of the United States.
Black people dying in Liberia. American soldiers off the coast. Don't send them in to stop the carnage. Black people dying in South Africa, have been dying. Nobody gave any sanctions, to the point where they crippled the regime of Botha or his replacement, de Klerk. Now, blacks in South Africa are slaughtering each other, but that's not a vital interest. Oil means more than human life. So the moment oil is threatened, the American way of life is threatened. Oil turns the wheels of industry. Industry that won't hire black people. Industry that won't hire Chicanos. Industry that moves out of the cities and moves out of the country, but now poor people have to die to protect a vital interest that don't give a damn about the vital interest of you and me. When are we going to stop the killing? Oil is more important than human life. Gold and diamonds are more important than human life. A dollar bill with a dead president on it has been given more value than human life. We, in our madness, slaughter each other because things are more valuable than people. Today, Push has organized a boycott against the Nike company that is manufacturing these sneakers. And they have attracted the magic and the majesty of Air Jordan and Spike Lee and others, and given them lucrative contracts to promote this product. There's nothing wrong with that. That's innocent, isn't it? That's all right. To make $1 promoting a product is not a bad idea. It's a good business. But there are no jobs in the black community. But the price of a Nike shoe may be more than a young man can earn working at Wendy's for 4 weeks. Now, the Nike shoe has become a status symbol. I gotta have it because it makes me something when I go to school. It doesn't make me smarter. I may not necessarily get better grades, but when I stick my foot in the aisle to trip the teacher, I want him to know he's tripping over my Nikes. When I put my foot in my brother's back, I want him to know he's being impressed with a Nike shoe. I'm saying it in a funny way, but it's not funny. Because instead of promoting shoes, we're promoting crime indirectly.
because some of the young brothers will stick up somebody for a shoe and will kill somebody for a shoe or their jacket. Crime is being promoted in the name of style. And since all of us are so style conscious, then crime is at the root of poor people trying to be stylish. So Bush has organized this boycott against Nike. And they want Nike to hire black executives. That's not bad. But we're not interested in creating a bigger middle class that don't care too much for the poor of our people. But if a black person gets that kind of job, and we hope you do, we want you to remember that it's poor people who stopped buying Nike. They got you your job, so when you get there, don't think that you have arrived and forget the little people that opened the door for you to get where you are. Since most of you that have attained status in white America didn't march with Dr. King, wouldn't take any chance in the streets, wouldn't know how to make a Molotov cocktail, and if you did, you wouldn't throw it. But poor people went out and opened up the television stations for black people to all of a sudden become anchors now. You didn't get there on your own. The black community became a Vietnam, a war zone. And white folk didn't want to go in to the war zone, so they took you from the black newspapers and the black radio stations and gave you a job. And now some of you have forgotten your responsibility. You're sitting around on boards of corporate America, and they give you a little money to sit in the boardroom, but you will not open your mouth to open up the jobs for your people. You are satisfied to say, yes, I'm on the board of Pepsi-Cola. I'm on the board of such and such and so and so. And for a few dollars, you sell out the aspirations of your people. I appreciate the honor that has been shown to me in many cities by mayors and city councilmen and legislators and legislatures and whatnot. But I don't work for praise, and I really don't work for honor. It's almost hypocritical to honor somebody before the job is done. I have never seen anybody honor a contractor halfway through the building of the job. We wait until the job is done and until the job is approved, and then we say, Mr. Contractor, well done. But to give us little tokens of honor, knowing that the condition of your people is so grave, should only be taken by us as encouragement to keep going, but not honor for a job well done. The job is not well done until all of our people are up out of the condition that they are in. Now, did you know, brothers and sisters, that with one person dying every 24 minutes, by the end of the year, there will be 23,000 murders, and a little over half of those will be black people killing black people. And if we are 35% of the casualties in Vietnam, brothers and sisters, we are losing more lives on the streets of America in 1 year than we lost in Vietnam in 1 year. In fact, in less than 2 years, we will have murdered more of our own than the Vietnamese murdered us in 9 years of war. So the black people in the cities of America are actually living in a war zone. So the black people in the cities of America are actually living in a war zone. And it is safer for you in Vietnam in war than walking the streets of America where black people live. That is why I am asking religious leaders, political leaders, civic leaders, and the people themselves to look at what we are doing to ourselves, to one another, and let us make up our minds that we must put a stop to the fratricide that is destroying us. It is a part of a genocidal plot, but the enemy is using our ignorance and our self-hatred as a vehicle of the total destruction of us as a people. Now, brothers and sisters, let's look deeply into this. How did this kind of killing mentality start? Where does it begin? Look at us. You look so beautiful here tonight. This is a beautiful audience of people. I'm not saying this to flatter you, but you came out here tonight expecting something. And you look human. Well, that's true. But the question is, are we? To think, brothers and sisters, that things mean more than people, that we do not understand the value of what we have here. We don't understand what this body, this mind, this essence is. Therefore, we can destroy it so easily because we really don't understand what this is. I would like to tonight, in the next few minutes, by the grace of Allah, explain what this is. And then how we got so messed up mentally that we can't see the value of ourselves. Now, as I speak about value, I want each person in here, young, old, whatever your hue, color, race, or ethnic origin, I want you to think about yourself, because there is so much value in each one of you that if you do not come to the realization of who you are, then you will never realize what you should expect from yourself and from others. I want you to follow me now. Let's take this journey. You are a microcosm of the universe, and you are in your own being a witness of God. Not only a witness of God in terms of the life that He has given, but you are a witness of God in the way you began your journey to life. Listen carefully. Each human being begins this life in total darkness. And in total darkness, the essence of light is present. That is to teach us that there never is a condition that is without hope. There is no problem that we suffer from that there is not a solution for that problem. Lying right in the problem is the solution. Listen to us, please. In the darkest darkness, there is the essence of light, for God brought light out of darkness. So if God brought light out of darkness, then darkness is the mother of light. Listen. And black is the mother of white. Now, that's not a racist statement. I don't want any white person in here to think that I'm being unkind. Listen, you all have to know your origin in this world. And because you have thought so little of black people, and black people have thought so little of themselves, it is necessary for the whole world to understand who we are, and for us to understand who we are, to appreciate ourselves and then appreciate the children that came from self. Let's go back now. We're talking about darkness and light. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that God had no father or no mother. God is self-created. The Quran says He was not begotten, nor does He beget. Self-created. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that from an atom in the darkness of space, He created Himself. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that Allah was a light of Himself in a universe of total darkness. What does that got to do with me? In the sperm of the male, and in the egg of the female, there is the potential power of human life. That essence, which is the essence of all of us here tonight had to be placed in the right environment, under the right circumstances, at the right time, in order for life to be conceived. Sperm is the root of us all. But the sperm was placed in a hostile environment. The vaginal tract of the female is not conducive for the life of the sperm. Talk to me. Now. This is biology, children. If the sperm could talk, the sperm would say, man, I got a rough job here. I got to swim in a hostile environment. And there's 100 million other dudes in here with me that has the same objective in mind. And I got to get to this egg before everybody else, or I'm out of here. Sperm is saying, if sperm could talk, it would be saying, I got to take the uphill road, swim against gravity to get to this egg. Now, God has so fixed it where the odds that you and you and you and you and you and I and we would make it were so great that only the strongest of us would survive. Now, since we were cast into a hostile environment, God doesn't make life necessarily easy. He allows us to struggle against a hostile environment because the hostile environment brings out of us the best and the worst. Before we became conscious, we had to deal with a hostile environment. And before we became conscious, the odds that we would make it were 100 million to 1 billion to 1. And before we became conscious, we had to swim up against the force of gravity to get to the egg. And each one of us made that journey. So each one of us that made it is qualified to run the race of life. And the race is not to the swift, but to the one that could endure to the end. You got the picture? Now, you see this planet that we stand on? Some of you have been outside for a long time waiting to get in. And some of you have been sitting here for nearly 2 hours. And while you were sitting here, you were traveling. You thought you were standing still. But you have traveled, if you've been sitting here 2 hours, over 2,000 miles since you've been sitting here. Smoothest ride you've ever had in your life. Now, white folks did pretty good with that 747. But it's not smoother than the planet that you're standing on. Now, this planet is constantly in motion, isn't it? What causes the planet to move? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us it's the presence of light striking the earth at its equator, causing the earth to do what? Spin. As the earth rotates on its axis, following the law of light, obeying the law of light, the earth revolves around the sun, paying homage to the sun, making 4 dips in and out, giving us our seasons and our changes. Huh? Responding to what? To light. Very good. Now, when the sperm meets the egg, they say an explosion takes place and you have the first cell of life. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the cell of life in the darkness of the womb, unknown by the mother, unknown by the father, unknown to only the Creator. Isn't that heavy? Look, I want you to just understand principally what I'm about to say. Because your mother didn't know she was pregnant. And your father didn't know and was frightened when he found out. Maybe. But God knew. And he and you were together. Now listen to me carefully. Not your mama and you, not your daddy and you, but God and you in your first state were together. You have never been alone. You have never been without the presence of your Creator. And so there is nothing, listen, there is nothing in this world that you cannot do. Even if you feel alone and lonely, you are never alone as long as you are conscious of the fact that you are never alone. Listen carefully now. That sperm, when it meets the egg and the first cell of life takes place, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said it begins to turn in the darkness. Anytime an object starts turning, light is present. And it is the presence of light and the motion brought about by light that brings about the evolutionary change. Oh, are you listening to me? Well, did somebody shine a flashlight in the womb? Where's the light coming from? The light is a part of your very being. You, at your core, are light. Oh, brothers and sisters. So as you and I begin to rotate, we begin to form into a clot, then an embryo, then a fetus. In a bag of waters, we start evolving and we're turning in the womb. Over and over and over, turning, making up, going through changes, getting ready for the journey of life. So you come forth out of the darkness of your mother's womb, complete yet incomplete. The Quran says, I have made you complete yet incomplete. The baby is complete. It's got everything it needs, but now it needs to be fed properly in order to evolve into what? You've already evolved into a fully grown likeness of what is called a human being. But now what can you evolve to when you're physically grown and when you're spiritually grown? What will you be? All right. Let's go back to the Bible and Quran. Pardon me if I make this into a little class, but, you know, brothers and sisters, I don't get to San Diego often, and I know it's. If you give me just a few more minutes, I want to complete this thought. Are you all right? Good. Okay, let's take this journey now. Follow me because this is critical to understand. Brother and sister, look. This evolution that takes place with the presence of light means that you are light, and only the presence of light can sustain your life. You say, you are the sunshine of my life. Who is the you that's the light of your life? It is not the woman that you're in love with. Of course, she makes you feel good. It's not the man you're in love with. He makes you feel good. But that's not the essence of your life. The essence of your life is the creator of light. So the sunshine of your life has always got to be your creator. And when you take him out of the spot that he and he alone should occupy, and you give that which belongs only to him to each other or to other objects that are not worthy of your worship, then the light of your being begins to go out. Y'all all right? Just bear with me a couple more minutes now. You know why our babies are so cold today? We have produced the coldest generation of so-called human beings that there ever has been in existence. Our young people are cold. They can kill and don't mind. Jails are full of teenagers today that are committing some of the most heinous crimes that their elders have never even thought to commit. What's happening to the children? Is it the children's fault? How can you blame the fruit of a tree when the tree is the thing that produces the fruit? If the children are cold, then we have to ask ourselves, what made them cold? Let me talk to you mothers a moment. Y'all all right? We're going to stop the killing tonight. Dear woman in the audience, black women, white women, Chicano women, do you know who you are? No, you don't know. Do you think that you are measurements? I'm 36, 23, and 36. What does that mean to you? You got a fine frame. Isn't that beautiful? So what does that make you? Does that make you a thing? Shake that thing. Give me that thing. Excuse me, brothers and sisters. I'm not trying to be funny. I want your thing. What are you saying? You've been reduced to nothing, to a thing, to a piece of meat. And just like a wise person that goes to a meat store says, bring that meat out from in the counter. Let me see what I'm getting here. And you turn it over. Now that's the one I want. Weigh it up, I'll take it. This is what women have become. Women are too important to be allowed to be degenerate. Do you know who you are? Each woman is more than flesh. She is created by the Creator in such a magnificent way that she is a replication of the womb of creation. Listen, 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 listen. The woman is the replication of the womb out of which Allah said be, and created sun, moon, stars, and all things. But from the womb of a woman, if God's hand is over that womb, you can, with the help of God, produce a Genghis Khan, a Napoleon, a Hitler, or you can produce a Jesus, a Muhammad, and a God. It's up to you. Yes. You are more than what they tell you you are. So much more than what they tell you you are. There will never be respect for life until we respect the womb that produces life. And as long as women are used and abused in any society, as long as women are denied their proper and rightful place, then men will never be what we should be, because a woman is the first teacher and the first nurse and the evolver of the race. Hello. Good. I just wanted to get out from behind that platform a minute. Y'all with me so far? Yes, sir. Now look. We cannot improve on God. He's the best knower. He says that over and over again in the Quran. I, Allah, am the best knower. Well, best is superlative. Nobody can equal him. His knowledge is absolute. He gave you sisters breasts. Not so much for your husbands or your boyfriends. Excuse me. But just like we have taken the calf from the udder of the cow, and we are at the cow's udder drinking the cow's milk so the calf can't get it. Men are hanging on the breast of a woman, pushing the baby off so the baby can't get no milk. And the poor sister, she thinks that it's going to spoil her form to nurse a baby. It's the exact opposite. It preserves your form and your health if you would nurse your children. But, here's the problem. Women have to work today. They're the ones that got the jobs, brothers. The society will hire a woman before they hire a black man. So the black man is walking the street with no job, and you got women here that got money, education, jobs, independent, aggressive. Poor man, when he meet her, he got a hard way to go because he don't know how to handle her. It's very difficult. He can't do anything for her. She has an apartment. He didn't give her one. She has her car. He's walking. So when he meets her, she says yes. Then she says to him, come. You don't have a place to stay? Well, you can stay with me. Now, I'm going to work, darling. You watch the soaps and tell me what happened. Boy, this world has really messed us up. Now, because we as men are not the men that we should be, and not the men that we could be, and not the men that we must be, we make our women pregnant, and they're afraid to have the children because they don't feel they'll get any support. So the abortionist comes in and say, you don't need to have any babies. You can have pleasure, but not a baby. Now listen to me carefully, sisters. You have to be careful of how you think, because how you think is shaping the world that you are creating. Now listen to me carefully, sisters. That's why most rulers in the world, their aim is always to crush your man and then take you over and make you theirs so that you will reflect them rather than the God who you are naturally born as the woman of God and not the woman of man. Now, you didn't hear me, but I want you to think about what I'm saying. You get the tape afterward and play it over and over again so that you will understand your tremendous value. Now, the moment you get pregnant and you are afraid of being discovered, I don't want my mom to know that I'm doing these things. I'm going to be discovered. Fear takes over, and you start thinking about my college and so immediately the abortionist comes into play. You wrestle with yourself a minute, and then you go and pay for the abortion, or somebody pays for it, and you're free, you think, of that burden. But you don't know what you're killing. I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. You have the right of choice, but not the right to choose to kill the unborn child. You don't have that right. And sisters, listen to me carefully. If you take that right and say, that's my right, it's my body, and if I want to kill the baby, I'm just going to kill it, then what do you think about your 12-year-old who joins a gang and feels he has the right to kill somebody that belongs to another gang and then kills them? And you say you're wrong in this instance, but you don't think you're wrong in the first instance of destroying human life that you are bringing here that may have the answer to the world's problems, but it's coming under unfortunate circumstances. I want to say this to you tonight. Maybe some of my sisters in this audience, maybe some women in this audience are pregnant, and you're thinking probably about the destruction of that life. I want to say this to you. You know, this is personal, but I'd like to share it with you. My mother, before she died, a few years before she died, she said to me, son, I tried 3 times to get rid of you. And I've asked God over and over again to forgive me. But after the 3rd time, I decided to let it be. Now, if my mother was successful in killing me, we would not know today what we might have missed. But look at the son of a simple black woman who got into trouble, and the easy way out of trouble was to get rid of me. But she didn't know what was growing in her womb, but God knew. That's why my allegiance can't be to mom first, but it will always be to you first. But it is you, mother, that introduces your child to God. And without you, mother, there's no real connection to God. I mean, you are the link. That's how important you are. My mother, I gotta say this. I don't have to say it, but I'm gonna say it. My mother's a marvelous, marvelous black woman. And I don't think I could have asked for a better mother. But you know, she met my father. My mother was a real black and beautiful woman. My father was a very light-skinned, curly-haired, kind of cute man. And you know these cute men, sisters. You know how to carry on, right? My mother wanted a stable life. My father wanted to play. Finally, my mother got tired of my father, whooped him. No, she put something on him now. I ain't going into that, but she put something on him. And put him out. She married my brother's father, and my brother was born. But then my father slipped back into the picture. And since he was the love of my mother's life, you know how that is, sisters. If loving you is wrong, I don't want to be right, you know. And my mother became pregnant with me and was terribly afraid because it wasn't her husband's child. So the first thought, I got to get rid of this. See, murder to cover up sin. And that's the way people kill in bank robberies. They kill you because you may have seen them and recognize them. I got to blow you away so you don't tell on me. Well, there are many of us who don't want to be discovered that we did this or we did that, so we will do the wrong thing, compounding the sin. So mom wanted to kill me in order to be able to live with her husband without letting him know that her first husband had slipped in under the cover of darkness. So after trying to get rid of me 3 times, she said, let it be. Now I'm forming in her womb. Now imagine the turmoil in her mind. This woman is frightened. My husband is going to know, he's going to know, he's going to know. So this woman had to pray. And she prayed, and she prayed, and she prayed, because she knew she needed God when this man found out. But all the while she's praying, she's putting prayer and dependence on God into me. Because what you think, mother, and what you eat, and what you do and allow to be done in the environment of your creativity is what is marking and shaping and fashioning this new life that is coming. You got it? So at first, rejection was there. She rejected me. Then she tried to kill me. Then she accepted me. So at the root of my coming into the world is self-rejection. And that's what you have here. A lot of children that grow up and don't even know why they feel this sense of rejection. See? And they got to do all kind of things to be accepted because their mothers rejected them in the womb. It's heavy, man. It's too heavy. See, and I'm telling you, man, for the white man to be able to send rockets out in space and mathematically be so precise to know that I got a camera out there and it will reach Venus at a certain time, and we don't know simple things about how to make a great human being from the womb. We have gained the whole world and lost the soul of self. See? Now, sisters, any of you that have had an abortion in the past, don't even worry about it. This is not a guilt trip. I hate preachers who try to make everybody feel low down and dirty except himself. There's none of us clean, not in this world. So that's not the aim, to make anybody in here feel bad. Sisters, I tell you, just like Jesus said when he found the woman, or the woman was found in adultery and they was all getting ready to stone her, Jesus said, which one of you is without sin? You cast the first stone. Then none of them threw the stone. So Jesus said, woman, where are your accusers? And listen to his words. Neither do I accuse you. Go and sin no more. Never again, sisters. Sisters, never again kill the fruit of your womb, because you today will produce the one who will rid the world of cancer, sickle cell anemia. It's going to come from a woman. You're going to produce the child that will make life better. It's coming from your womb. You can do it. You are doing it, but you don't know even the value of the children that you have seated beside you, or that you left at home to come here tonight. These are giants. They have a potential to become like God. And only you, if you be yourself, can make your children the giants that God originally intended. So after tonight, you make a choice. Make your choice who the man is that you're gonna take up with. And you be careful how you choose. Don't choose somebody that 5 minutes later you're gonna get rid of. Be intelligent in your choice. That's your right of choice. Choose the man intelligently. Choose now to be either promiscuous or decent. That's your right of choice. And if you choose promiscuity, then you will reap the fruit of a promiscuous life. And that's not good fruit. If you choose decency, That's your right. Choose high morals over being a low life, because you were not created to be a low life. There's no woman that was created to be a dog. Every woman was created to help produce gods. What did you say, brother? Produce gods? Yes. The potential of each human being is to become a master of this that we call universe. That is each human being's potential, male and female, born to master. But what have you mastered? Nothing. This humanity is nothing more today than a pile of human dung. Dung, that's another word for something else. And we literally stink in the nostrils of God. Human beings today are like beasts. We do not respect life, and so we have not yet come to life. We are dead spiritually. And the light that is the core of our being has gone out, and we walk in darkness. Oh, you can take it or leave it. And those of us who think we're in the light are probably in more darkness than those whom we think are in the dark. I'm speaking now of preachers and teachers. Most of us as preachers and teachers and men of God, we are under more darkness than the people that we teach. If we had the light, look at the condition of the people that have been listening to our preaching. There's the witness as to whether you got any light. Look at the people. There has been no change in the people's condition. They are today like they were yesterday, like they were the day before, like they were the last generation. Turn this microphone up. Tell them to turn the microphone up so I don't have to speak so loud. I want to save my voice, but I got to get my message over. Y'all all right? I'm getting to the point. Sister, your breast is the key to rearing your children with human qualities. The scientists give you a formula. They call it Similac or Infamil. Can you imagine a scientist going in a laboratory, cooking up something that is synthetic to give your babies, while the natural milk of the mother, even if you're a sick mother, your milk is better for your child than the most well-produced cow on earth. Now look at what you're doing. You do not bond your children to you. The process of nursing the child is the process of bonding your child physically to you and spiritually to you. Did you hear me? The moment you have the baby, you dry up your milk, get a bottle, get me some Infamil. You open up your little can, heat it up, put it in a plastic bottle, shove it in the baby's mouth. The baby is not connected to you in that process. Do you know, sister, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, this is why I keep talking about this teacher. He must have been a great man. I mean, to produce students that have attracted the attention of the world. What do you think my teacher is like? Listen to what my teacher said and see if you can dispute it, doctors. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, we black people nursed the milk of fear from our mothers' breasts. Listen to the words. We nursed the milk of fear from our mother's breasts. What do you mean, milk of fear? If I make any of you afraid, then once you're afraid, you set off a chemical reaction by the thought of insecurity. That chemical reaction goes right into the milk. So as a slave, living under the fear of the power of a slave master to harm us, our mothers lived in constant fear, so we nursed the milk of fear from her breast, and by nursing that milk of fear, we became a fearful people. Now look at us. We scratch when we don't itch. Start talking downtown to white folks. It's really sad to see men act so weak. Isn't it, brothers and sisters? What makes you afraid like that? Well, sister, my mother was afraid. But my mother, at a certain point, took on the virtue of courage. I'm gonna face whatever it is. And just the change of thought in her mind changed the chemistry of my makeup. Oh. And when I nursed from her breast, I didn't nurse no pump milk. I nursed courage, because mother, courage is not only a mental attitude, it is a chemistry. Fear is chemistry, courage is chemistry, love is chemistry, hate is chemistry. And when the woman is right, she puts the right chemistry into her child's makeup. That's why a wise man don't mess over no woman. A wise man takes care of a woman. A wise man is careful how he handles a woman. A wise man knows how to treat a woman, because a woman makes the future of the man. Yeah. Now, family, look. As you nurse your baby, the baby gets close to the mother. Through the breast, the baby is bonded to the mother. And the mother is nursing not only the strength of the baby, but human characteristics of warmth, tenderness, security, a measure of peace. All of that a mother gives to that child. Isn't that something? This is why, brothers, we have got to see that women are educated. I say this to all Muslims in this audience. I go to the mosques in the world of Islam, and in many of them the women are not present. It's just men. Women are at home with the children or somewhere else. Men study the Quran. It's the same way in the Jewish tradition. The Jews are in the synagogue studying the Torah. They really don't care whether the women master the principles in the Torah or not. And Muslim men don't care whether the women master the principles in the Quran. That's totally wrong. Totally wrong. Because if a woman don't master the teachings of the Quran and the Torah and the gospel, what will she feed to her children other than what she knows? If a woman knows foolishness, she will make a fool out of your children. And that's why Solomon said in the Bible, a wise child maketh a glad father, but a foolish child is the heaviness of its mother. What are you teaching your children? Come on, baby, shake now. Come on. Come on. Show daddy how you do it. Come on, darling. That's because the mom is a fool. She didn't have to be that way. You think that all you're supposed to do is shake? You can make that child great from the womb. Sound can go through water. You think you can't impress the child while it's forming? Of course you can. You can bring it from the womb with a tendency to greatness. All right, enough of that. So after you don't nurse the child, you got to go to work. You drop the child on a babysitter. Babysitter ain't thinking about loving your child. It's business. You put it in a daycare center. It's another number. You come home, you got to cook. You got to clean. Look, I ain't got no time. Sit down. Sit down. Sit down. You've been kind and sweet all day at the job. But now you're home and irritable and angry and ugly as you can be, and your child hasn't seen you all day. Sit in front of that television and watch it until I'm ready for you. Now here's another boob tube baby, bonded to a television, bonded to a teddy bear, bonded to that damnable ugly Cabbage Patch beast. Play with your dog. That's why I bought you a dog. Play with your dog. Play with your bird. The dog can't make a human. And the bird can't make a human. The birds play with birds and make birds, and dogs play with dogs and make dogs. You don't have no time to play with your children so you can make a human being. So what you got today is what you earned. You have gotten yourself children that don't respect you, children that cuss you out, children that will knock you down today. It's terrible. And I say to every child in this audience, the worst thing that any of us could do is to disrespect your mothers. That's the worst thing that any of us could do. And even if you think your mother is wrong, still don't you disrespect your mother. Because without your mother, and even your father that you say that no good so-and-so, he may be, but that's the sperm that got you here. So whenever you see him, you ought to be kind to him and recognize that he's a victim of this world's order. You ought to be kind to him and recognize that he's a victim of this world's order. And your mother is a victim of this world's order, and none of us are sent here to judge our parents. All right. Now I'd like to close. And this is the most critical part of the lecture. Do you know why we got this mentality of death? Do you know what life is? Listen, this is critical, and this is wrapping it up. You've been such a beautiful and patient audience. Thank you so very much. Excuse me, Brother Khalid. Brothers and sisters, the law of life is obedience to light, to guidance, to knowledge, to God. When we obey God and submit our will to do His will, that and that alone is life. When we rebel against God and become self-willed, that is death. The scripture says the wages of sin is what? And what is sin? Transgression of the law. Now, each of you buy things in the store that you didn't make. So when you buy any product, it usually has directions on how to use it. Isn't that intelligent? How many of you, I'm not going to ask you, but a lot of you use these things on your hair? Straightens it out, you know, fixes it. And so when you go to the store, if you don't go to the barber shop or the beauty parlor and you want to do it yourself, you buy you a can of whatever that is. But on the back of it, it has directions. Now, if you can't read, you better get somebody to read it to you before you use it. Lest you have to end up buying a wig. The point is, he who made the product is the best person to tell you how to use it. And since we didn't create this, a mighty creator created this, then the creator is the best person to tell us how to get the best use out of this. Now look at this marvelous body. Not mine, I mean yours. This was a speck of dust. This. I can't believe it. Every time I look at earth and stone, I'm amazed that we were built up from a speck of dust, from water. And the principles of life upon which this body is constructed, the marvelous magnificence of a cell that multiplies, and all the cells look alike, and then they become special, and then organs are formed in systems from dust, from water, from the minerals in the water. We get bone, the stone of the body. Isn't that marvelous? This is a marvelous creation. But this is nothing without what comes into it. When you see a dead person, they say, you may see the remains of brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so, and you go in, you're not looking at your father, you're not looking at your brother, you're not looking at your mom, you're not looking at your wife, you're looking at the house that she once lived in. This body has to be strong enough to hold on to the energy of life. And when this body cannot hold on to the power power of life anymore. This body gives up that life. And then this body goes back to the earth. Now just look at this that you got in you. Follow me now. Allah says in the Bible, He made man from the dust of the earth. He formed him, right? Then after he's formed, the scripture says He breathed into him of the Spirit, breath of life, and he became what? A living soul. So he was not living until the breath came into him. When you have a baby, if the breath does not come in, the baby is stillborn and goes right back to the earth. But when breath comes in, the baby cries. You got a living thing there. Well, man doesn't only breathe through the nostrils. We breathe through the eyes, through the ears, and through 14 billion brain cells that are made of water. Lord, if you just listen to me. Water is the power, according to the Quran. God's throne is on water. Because out of water, God has brought it all. And your brain is what? Water. Water. This is the throne of God right here. This. You going to the church today, right? You going to church next week, and notice how you try to act when you get in church. And the preachers will tell you when you get too close to the altar, don't come up here. This is sacred here. Stay right down there. Y'all spend your time and your money building churches. And you will tell each other, don't curse in here. This is the house of God. Watch your mouth. But that's a house of stone, put together by your hands and mine. But this house, this is made by God. And this is the real house of God. This is it. This is it. The house of God. So when I see you, if you ever watch me, you meet me on the street. I met some people today. We were walking, they say, "Oh, Minister Farrakhan, I'm so glad to meet you." And I say, "Gee, I'm really happy to meet you too." They say, "Really?" They didn't ask me, "Why are you happy to meet me?" I'm very happy to meet a creation of God. When I meet you, I know there's never been one like you. And there'll never be another like you. You are perfectly unique. And so when I shake your hand and you shake mine, it is the house of God shaking the house of God. And God's people shaking each other's hands. And so if you can tip around the altar, then you can tip around one another. If you can be careful how you act in the mosque or in the church or in the synagogue. Be careful how you treat one another, because you are disrespecting God. You all right? Now, God came to live in a black house. Can you receive him? Wait now. Wait. Since I didn't breathe into myself, he breathed into me. Then if he breathed his life into me and breathed his life into you, then if I respect God, I have to respect his life in you as well as his life in me. So if you are lighter than I or whiter than I, and yet God's life is in you, then when I bow in respect to you, don't think I'm worshiping flesh. I'm bowing to the spirit and wisdom of God in you. And when you bow to the Spirit of God in me, you're not bowing to black, you're bowing to God in black. Can you dig it? Now listen. Do you think that God only inhabits white flesh?
No.
Now to white people. Wait a minute now. Listen. This is not hate, but listen. Please listen. How you use God's Spirit determines who you are. I'm going to say it again. How you use God's Spirit determines who you are. If you use God's energy and spirit to do God's will, you are the people of God. If you use God's energy to oppose God, you are the devil. Now listen. You say, the devil made me do it. That's why I did it. The devil did it. He just got into me, child. And I want you all to stop being silly. That devil got into me, honey. And I just messed up. But it was the devil that made me do it. Now you can talk that kind of talk when you're a child. But when you mature, you better know who this devil is that's making you do these things. I want you to hear me. This is critical. Oh, Lord, I feel so good to be with you tonight, San Diego. Now, I want you to follow this now. Did you know the Honorable Elijah Muhammad? I'm coming back to my teacher. I was with him one day and I said, dear apostle, I said, why does the scripture say that God would make all things new if there wasn't something wrong with what was already in existence? He answered me like this. He said, brother, there is nothing in the universe that's perfectly round. Think about that answer. From the shape of our heads, nobody in here has a round head. Watch out now. Everybody's head is oblong. Come on. Look at the shape. Wider here, narrow here, right? Sometimes it comes to a point back here. Now you go pluck any fruit from any tree, it'll never be perfectly round. And if you look at the atom, which is the essence of everything, it is not round, it is oblong. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
In the atom there's positive and negative. Talk to me. The very base of the universe is the dialectic of positive and negative. So that means there's positive and negative in everything. Is that right? Now you came from the earth, I came from the earth. We came from the earth. What shape does the earth have? Earth is oblong. All right. Then if the earth could be a ball in your hand and you rolled it, it would never make a smooth move. The earth would wobble. because it's oblong. And if you roll an egg, you can't make it like a ball, you know. It has a wobble. Well, the earth has a wobble in its motion. You didn't even feel it. Been here 2 hours, a smooth ride. You know why you didn't feel it? How many of you have ever ridden on tires that are out of balance? It's a mess of a ride, isn't it? Well, this earth is oblong, yet you don't feel the motion of it. Do you know why? The earth is in perfect obedience to the law under which it is created. Look at this now. The earth inclines to the plane of its orbit 23 degrees 30 minutes. Is that right? The earth diameter is 7,926 miles. Its circumference is 24,896 miles. It has a weight of 6 sextillion tons. And it is floating in space, turning magnificently to the law of light. You don't feel a thing until God gets ready to shake it. Now, if you look on your tire, when you get it balanced, they will put a little lug on it here and a lug there to give it balance. The Holy Quran teaches us that Allah raised up mountains on the earth lest the earth would convulse with you. Come on. Come on. Come on. So every mountain range that is on the earth is like that lug on your tire to give it balance. Listen, listen, listen. And those mountains, you can't deal with them. They're here. They've been looking down on fools for thousands of years. Now, as there's a wobble in the planet that is only compensated for by its lean and its obedience, there's a wobble in the nature of the human being. And unless we obey God, that wobble in this will shorten our life, like the wobble in a tire will shorten the life of that tire. How long do we live? They give you 70, and when you get 70, you tired and want to get out of here. Senile and crazy. But if you open up your Bible, it talks about those old patriarchs who lived 600, 700, 800, 900, nearly 1,000 years. Many of you in this room will never see 100. But yet the Bible says in that day a baby will die at 100. How come life will be extended? When you learn how to obey the law under which this is created, then you can extend the life of this. This is magnificent. But you gotta live according to the law that this is created on. Otherwise, you begin to destroy it. You eat too much. And you eat too much of the wrong kinds of foods. Listen, you drink too much of the wrong kind of drinks. And you put too much poison in your system, from drugs to cigarettes to alcohol to pork chops, ham hocks. You're out there eating this nasty shellfish, lobster, clams. You eat all of the scavengers of the land and the sea and wonder why you're not well. And after you poison your system with all this food, bad drink, you wonder why you don't think well. Each one of you in this audience have powers that you wouldn't believe that you have. The radio that you listen to, that is only a replication of the power of the mind to tune in on the wavelengths of people's thoughts and read and hear. Television is no more than a replication of the ability of the mind to see beyond the power of the eyes to focus. And this is why each one of you can lay down at a certain time and see places that you've never been before. Because real sight is not with these eyes. Real sight is with the enlightened mind. Real hearing is not with the ears, because you can lay down in your bed knowing that you were not present and hear conversations and then travel and say, I've been here before. But you know you never were there before. You got a powerful mind, but you and I are really dead in terms of the real power of the human being. Now I'll draw this together and close. You know, the wise of this world know that you don't know, and the wise of this world will never teach you, because they are too busy capitalizing on our ignorance. They, the wise, know these truths, and they keep them in secret. Some of you black masons and shriners, have you noticed you have never integrated the white masons? You have not integrated the white shrine. They got one here in San Diego, but you don't go there. You know why you can't integrate that? Because you are the secret that the whole world is keeping. The wise of the world is keeping your secret. And they will not tell you. Some white people who are wise, they just get drunk sometime. And when they get drunk, they'll say things to you like, you people have more rhythm in your little finger than we have in our whole body. What they're saying is, you are created more on the principle of mathematics than we are. Rhythm is nothing more than a phase of mathematics. White folks can learn how to do it. You do it from the essence of your being. You ever watch black people drum? Just got it. And white folk will come and say, how did you do that? Then you show them. And then they'll say, and then after they practice it a long time, they'll say, then you out of a job. Elvis Presley come on to Muddy Waters and said, Muddy, how do you sing the blues? Muddy was so glad to have a white person ask him. You sing it like this. I lost my baby. I don't know what to do. Then Elvis come along with a little twist in there. Before you know it, he's the king. Muddy Waters ain't got a job. White folks sing blues today. You listen to them, you swear it's us. Got that gravel voice. Sitting by the dock of the bay. I swore it was black. I seen him on TV. I said, y'all got it. I see white folks dancing today. They cooking, man. I said, go on, tap, man. It's time for us to do a new thing, so white folks singing the blues now. Y'all go ahead, play your guitars, you hear? I like to see you play your guitar and sing. What I'm suggesting is that as the original people of the earth, what you have naturally, others will study you and master, and then leave you in the dust. You must arise and shine, for your light is come, and shake yourself from the dust. Get up and let's go on now in a resurrected state and do the great things that God wants us to do. So as I close this lecture, the Revelation says, I saw a pale horse. Its rider was death, and hell followed closely behind. To the Caucasian people in the audience, when God gave you power to rule, He gave you guidance to exercise that power. If you disobey God and the prophets, then you still got the power, but you use it so in contravention to what God says that you become an enemy of God. I have a book here in my hand. It is black. I didn't bring my pen. This'll work. This is white paper. This is white paper. I'm balling it up real firm because I want to make an example. Here's a black book that's heavy. Here's a white piece of paper that's very light. These things are not equal. When I drop them, you would expect the black book to get to the earth first, right? Because it's bigger, it's heavier, and it's blacker. But if I drop this, I drop it into a law, and that law renders everything equal. Now watch. See that? I'll do it again. Some of you missed it. Now you on the stage, you watch and tell them which one hits first. This is black. This is white. This is bigger. This is smaller. But check it now. They hit the same time, didn't they? All right, I'm coming to something. What is the point? The point is, the Constitution said God created us all equal. Lie. Not lie, false. None of us are equal. God has made some of us to excel others of us. Some of us shorter, some of us taller, some of us way more, some of us way less, some of us run faster, some of us run slower. We're not equal in anything, and there's nothing in creation that is equal. From the insect all the way out to the planets, they're not equal. What makes everything equal is what? The law. The law renders all things equal. So when the Constitution said God created all men equal, it should have said God created all men equally. Not equal, but equally. Because it's the law that makes us all equal. Everyone in here had to come through birth in order to get here, right? That's equal. Everybody got to die to get out of here. Is that right? That's equal. That's law. But the law that governs life does not treat us equal. And this I'm saying to Caucasians because the Quran teaches us that God gives each people the right to rule in turns. And then he will see how you act. And when God gave power to white people to rule, he didn't leave you without guidance. And he showed you the way his law works. But white people, you went contrary to God's will and law, and you went contrary to what the prophets taught you about treating the creatures of God. These are God's creatures. You didn't create them, but you rule them. So if you rule what you didn't create, you got to rule God's creation by his rule of law. Otherwise, he will come and sit you down and put another people in your place. And now look at this. Listen. The reason that the Bible prophesies a judgment is because there was no justice in the way the world has ruled. Now, I showed you about law, right? With the black book and the white piece of paper. If we live in a world that upholds you because you're white and condemns another simply because they're black, that's not a world of God. That's a world ruled by Satan. Now, to white people, listen. This is serious. Because you didn't go get your people and bring them here to make them slaves. Your fathers got my fathers. We were sold. We were bought. We were abused. We were mistreated. We were deprived of the human right to know, not for a year, not for 10 years, but for 300 years. That's a long time to mess over people. You didn't allow us to marry. We just made babies and the slave master took care of them. So today you're angry with us because we're still doing the same thing. Making babies for white folk to take care of. But as you sowed, now you reaping. Look. I'm just talking about justice now. My Chicano brothers and sisters, you are kin to the Native Americans. You once owned this state. You once owned Texas, and you once owned Arizona and New Mexico. That was yours. You didn't bother these people. They came, took it from you, made war on you, took it. Poor Native Americans here hunting and fishing. Beautiful land. White folks said, you ain't doing nothing with it. We'll take it. We can show you that no native people on this earth were bothered by your whiteness. When they saw white people, they opened up and let you in. Not only in North America, but in Central America, South America, in Africa, in the Isles of the Pacific, we have never said to you, you can't come in, you're white. Is that right? We let them in. And after we let them in, they drove us out. Then they set up things and said, you can't come in. You black. You Native American. You Chicano, you get the hell out. It's for white people. Now that's sickness. Don't get uptight with me. But I gotta say these things even to you, not to hurt you. But really, if you can take it, it'll help you. In truth. I don't say these things with malice, but it's just truth. You ruined our women. You did this. You killed us as men, and our women became your spoils. That's why a black woman today can't be raped. Not by you. Because really, in truth, you think every black woman is yours. You ruined our women. And you destroyed our men. We didn't do anything to you to deserve this. You did it out of a hatred for us. And out of fear of the power in the testicles of a black man. You know that anything that we touch ain't gonna be what it was. You know that. You can bring your sperm and put it in a black woman, and she's strong enough to make it us, even though it's you. Francis Cress Welsing calls it the fear of genetic annihilation. Dr. Francis Cress Welsing is right. Out of this fear and hatred and envy of the original people, you have destroyed us all over the earth. And you have set up a system, an educational, political, social, economic, and even a religious system that God rejects. Listen to me good now. This is the wind-up. God rejects a political system that doesn't have justice in it. God rejects an economic system where the wealth is in the hands of a few and the masses of the people have to scratch for what rightfully belongs to them. How in the hell can one or two people own the earth? We all come up out of it. They come up out of it. They got to go back down into it. But we got to pay homage to them because they took the earth from us. And then the value that is in the earth and under the earth, they take it out, make us work the mines. And we end up with nothing. And they pass on that they have stolen to their children. And their children wax fat and then say to us, we didn't do that to you all people. We wasn't around when that happened to your people. You're right. You were not around, it's true. But you are the beneficiaries of what your father stole. Right. How do you straighten this out? And I saw a pale horse. The rider was death, and hell followed closely behind. And I must respectfully say to Caucasian people, everywhere you've gone, death came with you, and hell has followed closely behind. I mean no disrespect. I mean no disrespect. But a horse is an intelligent creature. And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, we should not eat horse meat, even though it's a good meat. To eat a horse is like eating another human being because of the supreme intelligence of a horse. But when I saw a pale horse, the rider was deaf. Each of us, the horse is a beast. But when death rides the intelligence of a human being, he becomes an intelligent beast. Are you listening? And what is the death that rides the intelligence? It is when the intelligence makes you think you know better than the best knower who created this wonder called universe. And as long as you think you know better, you don't have to follow God, you don't have to obey his prophets, you do what you please, then death is riding your intelligence and hell follows you everywhere you go. And I saw the sheep. They had the mark of the beast in their forehead and in their hands. And here we are, human beings, but we think like the rulers of the world have taught us to think. We go to their schools, their universities. They teach and train us. They've been our religious guides. And they've set up religion to reflect white supremacy. And that's why the heaven is white. The angels are white. All the prophets are white. Jesus is white. And then you in the church singing, wash me white as snow. Look at it, brother. That's white supremacy in the name of God. And that's why people don't respect religion today. Because religion is poisoned with the poison of racism. Racism has poisoned the bloodstream of Islam. Racism has poisoned the bloodstream of Judaism. Racism has poisoned the bloodstream of Christianity. How are we going to get the world straight? Behold, I make all things new. There'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and the former things shall pass away. And I saw a black horse, and its rider had the scales, the balance in his hand. Meaning that after white people have had their day of rule, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the ending. God is going to remove the rule of injustice and put it in the hands of those who will give justice. And so this Jesus Christ figure, he is the most important figure in Scripture. Why is Jesus so important? Oh, Jesus is so important because Jesus is the first witness in thousands of years of what human beings could actually become when they submit their will to do the will of God. So Jesus says, I am the first fruit of them that slept, and I am the first begotten of the dead. Meaning what, Jesus? That I was dead. Meaning I was a man in the world and overcome by the world, but when God raised me from the dead, overcame the world. And now I am a guide for you, that you can overcome the world. And even though you are dead now in the sins of the rebelliousness of the Caucasian people, nevertheless, if you follow this Jesus figure, you will be able to look at yourself and say, "Oh grave, where's your victory? Oh death, where is your sting? I am he that was dead and am alive now forevermore." Who is this Jesus talking? What does he look like? Let's bring him up so we can find him and follow him. This Jesus, y'all all right? This Jesus describes himself so we wouldn't make a mistake. He said, "I'm the seed of David. I'm the root of Jesse. I am the bright and the morning star." Stop right there. Why the morning star, Jesus? Because darkness will have covered the people. Darkness like the darkness in space before I, God, created myself and then created light and said, "Be," and the sun appeared. I, God, fashioned life, human life, that in the darkness of the womb, yet there was light in the darkness of the womb, for I was there. And when I said be, life started evolving out of darkness, coming out into light. And so I made the earth to witness darkness under the false rule of a ruler who transgressed my laws. And because this ruler transgressed my laws, he's called death. 32 degrees of water. The temperature freezes at 32 and becomes ice. And I have made the wise of this world to come into masonry and to come up to the 32nd degree. Not yet fluid, still frozen. But I've made them at the 32nd degree to come into the shrine where they will learn that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. And when you say those words, you begin to thaw out and become a living fluid again. You are like snow, white folk, cold, and you have frozen the divine life in the people. And your own rebelliousness has frozen your journey to divine life. So that when you get to the 33rd degree, you say, "I spied Mecca," because you can't go there. Lord. Jesus, what does he look like? He's the seed of David, the root of Jesse. He's the morning star. The morning star appears just after the darkest hour of the night. And in the darkness, you will look up and see a bright star of piercing brightness. And if you follow it, it will lead you right on up to the sun, and then it gets lost in the light of the sun. Jesus is saying in those words, if you follow me, I'll take you to God. If you follow me like I've become lost in the light of the sun, as the morning star gets lost in the light of the sun, can't tell it from the sun.
Likewise, if you follow me, Jesus talking, I will lead you back to God, and you will become a perfect reflection of God, that I am one with him. And if you are one with me, you'll be one with him, and he with you. Then he will be in you, and you in him. Ooh, that's heavy stuff. Look now. What you mean you the seed of David, the root of Jesse? David father was Jesse, and David had a son called Solomon. Solomon said, I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem. Solomon's father was David. David's father was Jesse. Jesus said, I am the seed of David. I am the root of Jesse. Now Paul comes up, and Paul starts describing Jesus. Paul said Jesus was the seed of David according to the flesh, but he was declared to be the Son of God according to the Spirit of holiness. What you mean, Paul? Paul speaking. Paul said, what I mean is, I mean that the flesh of Jesus was from the lineage of David, but the Spirit of Jesus was from God himself. He was traveling in flesh, but he was mine, and he was me in flesh. Lord, this is heavy. What does he look like? Daniel talking. Daniel said, I beheld the Ancient of Days. I beheld till the thrones were cast down, and the Ancient of Days did sit. He had hair like lamb's wool, and he had feet like brass burned in an oven. His eyes like flaming coals. Let me ask you a question, Christians. I know you are waiting for the return of Jesus. What would you do if Jesus came back, and he came back black? Could you handle it? How you gonna handle it? All you white folks talking about Jesus is coming again. Jesus is coming. You're right, he is. But he's not a white man. And when he comes back, can you accept him in a black house? Can you accept God functioning in a black man? No, you can't do that. You couldn't accept King and change Market Street, change his name. You would rather have a Market Street, a street named after a market where you buy and sell, rather than have a street named after a black human being who fought for justice for all. Yes. Can you handle Jesus coming back black? Black brothers and sisters, can you handle it? The scriptures say he came unto his own, but his own received him not. And the light shined in the darkness, but the darkness comprehended it not. Can you handle it? I asked the Jews who are looking for Elijah, and you hold the door open during your Seder feast for Elijah, and you set a place at your table for Elijah. But if Elijah came and knocked on your door and he wasn't white, what would you say? Call 911, it's a nigger at the door? And some of you Muslims here waiting for the Mahdi, the guided one, to come. You wouldn't need a Mahdi if you had followed Prophet Muhammad. You blew it when you deviated from the Prophet. Now the Mahdi has to come to guide you back to the path of the Prophet. And the Prophet, before he left, told you there was no superiority of white over black. He didn't reverse that. would you say? Call 911, it's a nigger at the door? He didn't reverse that. He just said there was no superiority of white over black or non-Arab over. He didn't reverse that. He just said there was no superiority of white over black or non-Arab over Arab or Arab over non-Arab. Then he told you all that you should respect leadership, whether it comes from a person whose skin is black like soot and his hair is like dried raisins. He was telling you something. If you can't respect God's grace to you in a black person, you will never come up out of your condition of death. Because it's not the color, that's just the house that he's coming in. It's the wisdom. And so, that black horse and the scale of justice is in his hand, is in the world. He's in the world. And I respectfully say to you all, we can all come up out of this death. From the black all the way to the white, we can come up out of this condition. But the first thing you got to do is to recognize you blew it. We messed up. And if we all messed up, the scriptures say you got to be born. What? Again. That ain't just for white folk. That's for you and me. Well, how can I be born again? I can't go back in my mother's womb for the second time. No, that's right. Jesus hit them real hard when they asked him about that. He said, you see the wind, you don't know where it bloweth or where it listeth. I know Nicodemus didn't understand. What he's saying is, look, the only way you can come back to yourself, you see the wind, you don't know where it bloweth or where it listeth, meaning it's from, you don't know where it's going and you don't know where it came from. Well, so it is with the original man. You don't know where we were born. You don't know how long we were born. And you don't see no end to us. We're like the wind. You don't know where we listed and where we're blowing. We're just here. You got to come back into your original self. You must be born again. And you know how you get born again? Not by jumping up and having a fit and running down the aisles and foaming at the mouth and kick over a few chairs. And I'm born again. Don't be mad with me. Don't be mad with me. Many of you, my Christian brothers and sisters, you are so sincere and wonderful. God gives you credit for trying to be. No, seriously. I'm not trying to be smart. We get credit for trying. But you can't be a born-again Negro. A born-again African-American Negro. In order to be born again, you have to be broken up in the way you've been formed by this world. Scriptures say you and I were born in sin and shaped in iniquity. Well, after you've been shaped in something so long, you don't get born again by just dropping them in some water and pulling them up and dropping them in the water and pulling them and say, now, go on. I've been saved. I'm sorry, Reverend, that's not the way that's done. In fact, a water baptism don't make you a follower of Jesus. A water baptism makes you a follower of John. Because John baptized Jesus in the water, and while he was baptizing Jesus, he said one was coming after him that would not baptize you with water, but would baptize you with fire and the Holy Ghost. Oh, Lord, I'm through now. Why baptize you with fire? Because fire, when it touches this rostrum got a form, but when fire touches it, it breaks it down. That's right. Breaks it down to its raw elements. It becomes ashes. And then God builds it up from there again. It'll take this metal and melt it down. Fire, when it touches a thing, it'll wither this building, bring it down. Even though this is concrete and steel, fire will fix it for you. Is that right? So when Jesus said, or John said, this one coming is going to baptize you with fire, that means that the word in his mouth is like the light of the sun. The light of the sun is pure fire. He said, I am the light of the world. What are you saying, Jesus? What word is in my mouth? It is like fire. When it touches you, it'll begin breaking down the form of evil, the form of a Negro and a nigger made by the world, the form of a Chicano made by the world, the form of a white man made by the world. When this fire touches you, you begin to start getting excited, nervous, because it makes you see yourself as you are. And it starts breaking you down to build you up. And the Holy Ghost is nothing more than the power in the Word that gives you the energy to rebuild according to the law and will of God. I am the resurrection and the life. If you believe in me, even though you are dead, yet shall you live again. I met a man, brothers and sisters, a man who had the fire of divine light and truth in his mouth. And when that man spoke to me, he spoke to me through Malcolm. Malcolm was his spokesman. He made Malcolm and brought him from prison and formed him and made him a giant in the earth.
That's right.
But that word found me. Since light is the essence of my being and yours, when the light touched the light of me, it was light upon light. And I became resurrected mentally from the grave of ignorance of a world that is considered dead. And I submitted to God. And when you look at us, Muslims, look at their faces. You see light in their skin. That ain't grease. That ain't baby oil. That's light. Look at their faces. Look at their faces. It's light. Look at my face. It's light in me. Why? Because the light in truth has captured the light in me, and now it's light upon light, and the same light is in you, but you must be touched by the light of truth, which you have already been touched today, but now it's up to you to accept it and then live according to it. And I'm telling you, when I accepted that light and allowed it to discipline my life, I broke down as a Negro. I broke down as a colored boy. I was broken down as a singer of song and dance. But while he was breaking me down, he was building me up according to the Holy Spirit contained in the Word. And so I threw away my reefer, which I used to smoke. I threw away my gambling, my cigarette. I stopped drinking. I stopped chasing women. I stopped eating the wrong kinds of foods. I used to love pork chops. I used to love hog head cheese. But after the light touched me, I left Piggly Wiggly alone. And I would advise you from this day forward, leave that nasty hog alone. It is an ugly thing, and it is an unclean thing. And this is the house of God. You must put the best in your house. Don't be going out. Sorry about this, McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King. Don't be putting all that garbage in this holy house. Get the best that the earth produces and put it in the best that the earth produced. And you'll find yourself looking better, thinking better. You looking at a man squeezing 60. I'm getting close enough to hug 60. Check me out. Oh man, look at this. Now if you look in my face, just look at me. I ain't had no facelift. Some of you saying, I knew he was the devil. You wouldn't say, I knew he met God. But look, just look. He's young. Yet he's older, not old. For over 20 years, I eat one meal a day. Many on this rostrum are eating once every other day, because you don't have to eat as much as you eat. Well, I'm a doctor, and I know you should eat 3 meals a day. Yeah, doc, and you die just as fast as your patients, because you don't know nothing about real medicine. I know. You're a good doctor, and I don't think that I'm not respectful of your medicine, because if I get sick, I sure come see you. But I just want you to know, doctor, you really haven't come into the science of real medicine yet. You got a long way to go. And that's not putting you down, that's telling you you got a long, long way to go, because you're not preserving life with drugs. You don't preserve life with pills. You preserve life by knowing how to feed life from the same source that built life up in its natural state and not in a synthetic state. But we'll get to that at another time. And so, family, you got to decide whether you want life or whether you want death. And there's a way that seemeth right unto a man, but the ends thereof are the ways of death. And so the world has attacked me as a bigot, a racist, an anti-Semite. Why did they do that? Because they're afraid that you will hear truth from my mouth and wake up, and they will never be able to control you again. Thank you for listening, and may God bless you as I greet you in peace. Assalamu alaikum. Brothers and sisters, before you leave, let's have prayer together. We're going to go right now. Let's have prayer together. Tomorrow's a holiday. I guess every day is no Labor Day for us, right? Let's have prayer together. Before you leave, can I ask you a question? Those of you who listened to what we said tonight, how many of you believe that what you heard tonight, that it is the truth and is good for us as a people? Would you raise your hands? Brother shouted out, I know it's true. Those of you who believe it's true, I'd like to ask this. How many of you, regardless of your persuasion, if you can see Brother Farrakhan is not a hater, a bigot, an anti-Semite, but is somebody that really wants to see us as a people get up and humanity get up, then let me ask, how many of you would be willing to unite with me and let's go build for the good of our people? May I see your hands? Would you raise them up real high? Would you hold them up? And would you say after me, I believe in Moses and the Old Testament. I believe in Jesus and the gospel. I believe in Muhammad and the Holy Quran. I bear witness that there is but one God, whose proper name is Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. You know what? What you just said brought together Muslims, Christians, and Jews in one family. Because when you believe in Moses and the Torah, Jesus and the gospel, Muhammad and the Quran, you believe in the unity of all the family of faith. So from this day forward, when you go out that door, you can go back to your churches wherever you belong if that's where you're comfortable. But look, don't say, I'm a Baptist, he's a Methodist, this one's Episcopalian, that's a Muslim, that's a Hebrew. I'm through it. Only this way is the way to God. All of it is from God. And all of it is designed to take you to God. The thing you must remember is not denomination or name of faith will save us. It is submission to the will of God. All right? Are we together?